The lobby glitters like a promise recorded on camera. Marble squares hold their polish. Glass climbs high enough to turn the city into a soft reflection. A ring of lenses watches everything politely. A ribbon board above reception scrolls today's open hour in language that sounds like access. Mateo Cruz stands a pace back from the desk with a slim field notebook in one hand and a sealed packet in the other. Luna hovers at his side, her backpack small against the stone, a worn fox plush clipped by one ear and faded to the color of memory. She tracks the escalators with the grave attention of children who have learned rooms before words. The fox swings once and steadies. Mateo dresses like work rather than display, scuffed boots, a jacket kept clean by care, not price. The packet bears a simple label, Chief Executive Officer, Private, edges squared with tape. Optics take inventory and set him to the margin. No badge, not a guest list name, not from this floor. He waits for the line to thin, then steps into the clear. "Good morning," he says to the receptionist. "I need to see the CO." His voice doesn't push, it places. "Name?" she asks, fingers rising to the keyboard. "Mateo Cruz." He sets the packet down gently, as if paper can bruise. It concerns safety validation, maintenance timing, and coverage class drift. It needs a decision, not a cue. Luna looks up at the tall steel letters welded over the desk, Vireo. She mouths them like a code and squeezes the fox's paw. The receptionist checks screens and policies at the same time, eyes moving in practice loops that turn people into entries. Shoes approach in a synchronized line. Harper Quinn's open-hour entourage crosses the lobby toward the desk. Harper Quinn arrives with a small orbit of assistants, the day's talking points already sorted beneath her thumb. The reception desk becomes a stage built for one sentence at a time. Mateo steps forward with the packet and the steadiness of someone who rehearsed for clarity. "No. I flagged this twice already," he says, voice even. "Your inspection validation trusts stale code after pushes. Midnight maintenance deferrals happen in a narrow window, then incidents pop inside 24 hours. Coverage is misclassified to cheaper classes, and claims close too fast. Together it's a safety failure waiting to become a headline. It needs a decision, not a cue." Harper's gaze moves from his face to the packet to the cameras that tidy narratives for later. She keeps her tone hospitable enough to survive playback. "I appreciate your concern, Mr. Cruz. This isn't my lane in real time. We have channels. Submit through operations and compliance. They'll route it appropriately." "They already did," he says. "Twice. I brought this because lanes freeze for 60 to 90 days when the timing's wrong. Because lives work those lanes." Her smile remains a line that doesn't cut. "Then let process work. If you've filed, it's in motion. I can't override protocols here. Security has learned to arrive like good manners." A guard steps into position with hands open and posture quiet. "Sir, we'll help you connect with HR to ensure your materials are logged correctly." His voice makes escort sound like service. Luna stands very still, the fox plush cooling against her palm. She watches shoes more than faces, counting the seconds between answers. Her father's hand finds the top of her backpack, a touch that says the day still belongs to them. Mateo nods once. "Please make sure the person who can act actually reads it," he says, tapping the packet's label. The receptionist logs the handoff and the minute, the way buildings keep their own diaries. Harper's entourage rotates back into motion. Reception pages HR to escort. Air closes over the moment. Marble and glass resume the weather they prefer. The cameras blink. Marla meets them at the side bank with the unhurried calm of someone who has turned emergencies into errands. She badges them through and leads the way to a small conference room off the HR suite, a pocket of carpet and quiet away from the lobby's cameras. Water appears without being asked. She sets 2 bottles on the table, nudges a chair toward Luna, and waits for everyone's breathing to catch up with the room. Mateo thanks her, lays the sealed packet beside his field notebook, and keeps his voice exact. "I've sent this twice through operations and compliance," he says. The submissions show delivered. No read back, no escalation. "I'm not here to skip process. I'm here because the decisions that keep people safe can't live in a queue. He does not raise his tone. He does not rehearse outrage. He names the seams once, the way an engineer points to a bolt that has loosened, validation after code pushes, midnight deferrals, coverage drift. Together they add up to lanes freezing and lives at risk. Marla listens like a recorder that has learned how to care. I'll log this personally, she says. If you can send me the ticket numbers, I'll attach them to the intake. She slips a notepad across the table and leaves the pen pointing toward him, not at him. Luna climbs onto the chair with the solemnity of a witness. She unclips the fox plush and sets it upright beside the water, as if presenting credentials. Through the glass she can see the lobby letters mirrored faintly across stone. Vireo. 5 shapes stacked like a puzzle. She traces them with her finger on the tabletop, sounding each one the way you test a bridge, V-I-R-E-O. She goes back and adds the meaning she knows. If the letters are a name, the name should mean someone. Mateo slides Marla a printed list of his prior submissions, ticket IDs aligned. Thank you, he says. Please make sure the person who can say yes actually sees this. On the mezzanine, Priya, the chief of staff, crosses the rail of glass and catches a glimpse of the escort she didn't schedule. She stops, pivots toward reception, and asks Leah for the walk-in's name. Security leads them toward the service elevator with hands open and voices soft, the building's way of moving a problem out of frame. Harper lingers just long enough to offer the line that closes moments without bruising them. We will route it, she says, not unkind, already turning toward the schedule that believes itself urgent. Luna tilts her head back to see the 10-foot logo welded over reception. Vireo gleams like a rule. Below it, a brass plaque reads, Harper Quinn, CEO. Her eyes stay there. She looks from the plaque to the woman who said not my lane and asks, clear and small, so even the cameras would hear it right. If it's not your job, why is your name on the building? The room forgets to breathe. Leah's fingers stop above the keyboard. Brooks, the guard, pauses without shifting his weight. 2 analysts freeze mid-stride, heads angled as if listening for weather. The sealed packet on the desk seems heavier by an ounce. No anger lives in the question, only geometry, name, building, job. Harper turns a fractional degree. She does not answer. She doesn't have a sentence prepared for a truth that arrived at child height. Her heel finds the marble again. The pose she wears for public rooms holds, but something in the set of her shoulders concedes that the line connected. On the mezzanine, Priya hears the voice she wasn't expecting and the sentence she cannot ignore. Her phone is already up before she names the impulse. She opens the suppression dashboard, searches for Cruz, Mateo. A match surfaces. Submission open from Ops VP Bradley Shore's device. Routing suppressed 90 minutes later. Her heart rate changes. Her face does not. She messages Harper 3 words, suppression match here. Then she calls HR. Bring them back. Priya stops at the mezzanine rail with her phone already open, thumbs moving before the room remembers what was said. She types Cruz, Mateo into the suppression dashboard and watches a thread surface. Submission received 2 weeks ago through compliance intake. Attachment opened at 14:13 from Ops VP Bradley Shore's device. Routing suppressed at 15:44 with a boilerplate note about verification. She taps the audit icon. IP and device ID line up cleanly. No reroute. No escalation. Just a lid. Below, the lobby resumes its practiced weather, but a clip is already sliding across Slack, a child under a 10-foot logo asking, if it's not your job, why is your name on the building? The sound is steady, the image framed by marble and glass. People had the only reaction that matters in a company built on optics. They stop typing. Priya screenshots the log, pins the ticket numbers, and copies the metadata string to a note titled Due First. She messages Harper 3 words that change the hour. Suppression match, same name. The typing bubble appears at once, then stops. Across the atrium, Harper's pace changes without getting faster. Her entourage shortens its orbit. Priya meets her halfway and speaks low, precise. Opened on Shore's device. Suppressed 90 minutes later. Not an IT ghost. Harper nods once, the motion that moves rooms without noise. Pull device logs for Bradley for the last 30 days, Harper says. Preserve inbox and messaging, no notice. Loop compliance and legal. Then bring Mr. Cruz back through legal for a same-day NDA and an advisor pass. Conference be in 15. I want raw data, not decks. On the way down the stairs, Priya is already building the chain. IT receives a ticket stamped preserve priority. Compliance drafts hold notices. Legal opens the short form NDA and pre-fills the date and rate. She calls HR. Marla, bring Mr. Cruz back to Conference B, please. He'll stop by legal for a one-page NDA. His advisor pass will be waiting at reception. Copy, Marla says, her voice like a room that knows how to help. She looks up to find Mateo and Luna where she left them, the fox plush sitting upright like a small, steady witness. She smiles at the child first, then to the father. We're heading upstairs now, she says. Someone who can act is ready to listen. She gathers the packet from the desk and hands it back to Mateo, then nods toward the elevators. At reception, a printer wakes. A white badge slides out marked advisor. They move. Conference B is smaller than the lobby's performance, cooler by a degree, blinds angled to turn the city into soft rectangles. Harper takes the side chair instead of the head, and sets her folder parallel to the table's grain. No theater, just sequence, she says. The room adjusts to the tempo. Legal slides a one-page agreement across the wood, the pen aligned with the signature line. Day rate. NDA. Advisor access. Mateo reads once, steady, signs his name with the care you give to things that will be carried. The packet sits by his elbow like a weight no one has to lift yet. He chooses the mid-table seat, either claiming nor avoiding center. Outside the glass, Marla waits with Luna on a bench, the fox plush upright between them. Luna counts the slats in the blind, then the dots in the ceiling tile, then returns to the fox's stitched eyes as if they know the next line. Harper opens a clean page in her notebook and looks at Mateo as if the room has finally reached the person it needs. Facts, please, she says. What you've seen, where it lives, and what it costs if we are wrong about the order of things. Priya stands by the screen with the suppression log already queued, the timestamps bolded, the credential string highlighted in a color that refuses to be decorative. She does not narrate. She is ready to confirm. Ops dials in first, camera off, voice crisp. IT joins with a chime and an empty square. Compliance follows, yellow pad visible at the edge of frame. The speaker casts a small hum that sounds like a clock remembering its job. Mateo opens his field notebook. His first words are simple. I don't need credit. I need the numbers to tell the same story twice. He looks to Harper, then to the screen. Start with validation after code pushes, he says. Then midnight deferrals. Then coverage that isn't what it claims to be. Send raw, not summaries. No pivots. Let the numbers arrive the way they lived. The room begins listening. Mateo draws 3 small boxes on his page and numbers them with neat strokes. He points to the first without flourish. Inspection validation, he says. After code pushes, the safety checklist still trusts last quarter's table. The field enters a pass based on stale rules. Small misses slide through, then reverse a week later as administrative cleanups. On a ledger they look tidy. On a trend they build pressure. He slides raw rows to the screen, checklist ID, asset, timestamp, reversal date. A narrow band of misses forms and repeats like a seam that has learned to hide. He turns to the second box. Midnight deferrals. Edits cluster between 0:40 and 1:20. The same credential string appears before each push, and a deferral note lands minutes later. Monitor at next cycle. He places a second sheet beside the first. On the following day, incident flags rise just under 24 hours after the deferral. The overlap is not a story, it is a schedule. He traces a finger along the times so the room can see the hinge. The third box is insurance class. Fleet units are misfiled to lower premium categories in the week before departure on high-risk corridors. A claim hits quickly if an alert flickers. Closures arrive faster than caution would prefer. He lays the adjustment list over route histories. The misclassifications line up with windows that have always asked for more attention. No voice in the room argues. The tables do not enjoy being decorative. He translates without heat. Left alone, these seams expose 15 to 20 million over 2 quarters. If an incident escalates past second review while coverage is wrong or maintenance edits cannot prove their chain, lanes freeze 60 to 90 days. Cash tightens, covenants begin to talk back, vendors decide our calendars are not their problem. He lets the numbers stand at the height where decisions live. He sets the sealed packet on the table as if returning a tool to its drawer. 2 weeks old. Addressed to the CEO through intake. Metadata shows opened on Bradley Shore's account at 1413. Routing suppressed at 1544 with a generic note. He does not add an adjective to the act. He reads the times so they are on record, then moves his hand away. Compliance lifts a printed log and aligns it with the packet's corner. The fields match: opened, device ID, suppression code. Ike ties the credentials string to a device and a badge, then stops talking as soon as the link is complete. The room exhales in a new key. Chairs do not scrape, but posture changes by a measurable inch. Matteo caps his pen and leaves the 3 boxes visible. The lines between them require no ink now. He has shown where order lies and where it left. On the screen the rows keep their gray. On the table the packet keeps its weight. The projector hums like a clock that has decided to keep better time. The room recalibrates and waits for instruction. Silence settles until decisions can stand up without wobbling. Harper looks once at the packet, once at the log, and then at Bradley. "Leave the room," she says. It is not loud, it does not need to be. He searches for a sentence, finds none that will hold, and steps out. The latch closes like a period the room has been waiting to place. "We act now," Harper says. "External audit engaged today, independent of operations and finance. Counsel retained on a separate track. Reporting lines do not cross. Compliance, issue preservation holds across inboxes, shared drives, and messaging. Snapshot devices. Guard the chain. IT, snapshot Bradley Shore's mail, chat, and access logs for the last 30 days. Preserve hardware. Revoke elevated permissions pending review. Send a readout to compliance and to me. Suspend edit rights on maintenance tables immediately. Dual approvals only, with 2 human names, reasons, and timestamps a person can read at a glance. Midnight windows run supervised with a checklist. Any change that breathes wrong hands off today's shift. Operations, rebuild the validation refresh order before close. Validation precedes pricing, every time, and the run is documented in a way that survives turnover. Test twice, live and sandbox. Insurance, freeze manual adjustments until controls are rebuilt. Any underinsured departure flags red before a dock door rolls. Vendor relations, draft a 30-day cure that prevents full-lane freezes except on the disputed route. Attach dates both sides can see. For all contracts where language can drift, legal will add a bilingual control clause certification. 2 sign-offs on the same page, business and counsel. Route all findings, all escalations, through compliance and through me. No single-point gatekeeping. Pens start moving as if a new current has entered the room. Ops draws a ladder of steps on the whiteboard. Compliance writes hold in clean capitals. IT's keys begin a precise staccato. The projector hums like a clock that has remembered its job. Harper keeps still, then sets the cost where it belongs. "I let schedule outrank sight," she says. "I treated velocity like virtue and almost paid for it with 2 quarters and a reputation. That is on me. It will not happen again." Priya nods once, already sending tickets. The room takes a breath that is not for optics but for oxygen. Process acquires a spine, and posture goes quiet. Matteo closes his notebook, aligns the pen to the spine, and rises. He did not come for applause. He came to keep floors dry. He turns toward the door. Outside the glass, Luna sits beside Marla, the fox plush upright like a small witness. The building's hum returns, quieter, as if listening for the next sentence rather than rehearsing optics today. Harper steps into the corridor where Marla and Luna wait on the bench. The buildings hum softer out here. The fox plush sits upright in Luna's arm, fur worn to the color of memory. Harper lowers herself until her eyes are level with the child's. Luna? She asks. The girl nods. I moved you because you didn't fit the plan I was running, Harper says. That was wrong. I treated a schedule like a rule and forgot that people are the point. I told your dad to follow lanes that were already blocked. That is not how this is supposed to work. I am sorry. Luna studies Harper the way children check weather, quiet and exact. She squeezes the fox's paw once and lets the silence do its work. You can fix it, she says. The sentence lands without heat and turns the corridor into a room that knows what it owes. Harper inclines her head to the child, a small bow that concedes weight instead of asking for it. Priya, just behind her, mirrors the tilt, witness to specificity, not show. Thank you for saying the true part, Harper says. I will fix what I can fix, and I will not call noise what is a signal. If you were moved because I protected optics, that ends here. She looks to Marla. Please stay with Luna. Keep her where she can see daylight. She stands and turns to Mateo, who has been waiting with his field notebook closed, the sealed packet under his hand. Mr. Cruz, she says, voice steady. I refused help because I let process pretend to be judgment. We will not repeat that. Help us close this properly today. Mateo nods once. Luna lifts the fox and sets it in her lap like a gavel that has done its job. The building's hum returns, tuned to work instead of performance. Harper breathes once, then opens the door back to the room. Harper stands with the door half open, the corridor's cooler air threading the room. Day rate under NDA, she says. Immediate scope, reset the validation refresh order, lock maintenance behind dual approval with human names and timestamps, and help legal template a bilingual control clause certification so language cannot drift. If the audit confirms what we see, I will propose a short retainer to harden processes and train teams. Official channels, clean terms. Mateo listens like a craftsman measuring wood before a cut. I can begin now, he says. I'll deliver fixes to council and operations, document the sequence, and step out of the frame. I'm not the story. One condition, he adds. I am home by 3:30 for pickup. If we run past that, it becomes tomorrow. Agreed, Harper says without bargaining. She writes the line into the engagement in her neat hand, boundary, home by 3:30 p.m. Carryover becomes next business day, and initials the margin so it cannot be mistaken for courtesy. Legal countersigns. Priya scans and forwards the countersigned sheet before ink dries. The advisor pass remains live. The chain of custody for changes will travel with his name only as far as it must. Deliverables, Harper says, pacing the words like stakes. A locked refresh order with tests that survive turnover. A maintenance change ticket that refuses anonymity. A hold on manual insurance edits with an alert ladder for pre-departure flags. A vendor addendum with a 30-day cure that confines freezes to the disputed lane. A two-signature certification where English and partner language say the same thing on the same page. Route drafts to Priya. Ship runbooks to Ops by 3. We will brief vendors at 5. Mateo nods, the motion that closes a promise. He presses his palm once to the sealed packet as if blessing a tool and leaves it on the credenza where process can claim it. Then he returns to the table, opens his notebook to a clean page, and turns the whiteboard into a runbook. The room leans forward. Work begins. Outside, Luna waits, counting blinds. The fox plush keeps calm witness nearby. Ops moves first. Mateo sketches a ladder on the whiteboard, then translates it into steps the system can carry. Validation refresh moves to the front of the line, before any pricing table loads. IT locks the sequence in deployment scripts, so a code push cannot outrun the rules again. They test once on live data behind a read-only gate, then again in the sandbox, and pin the screenshots to the runbook. The order holds. Maintenance leaves the dark. Dual approval replaces faith with proof. Every change ticket must carry 2 human names, a reason written in words a shift lead can read, and a timestamp that doesn't hide behind logs. Midnight windows shrink to a supervised hour. A checklist lives on the wall. Any change that breathes wrong waits for daylight. The credential cluster that loved 040 loses keys and cannot sign for others. The audit link opens on the first click. Insurance adjustments stop moving until the floor is dry. Manual edits freeze behind a single queue. Underinsured departures flag red before a dock door rolls. Ops builds an alert ladder that climbs operator, supervisor, compliance, then legal, with timers that ring if silence pretends to be resolution. Vendor relations publishes a call tree that routes to people, not mailboxes, with names and hours attached. Legal and Mateo template a bilingual control clause certification that refuses drift. English and partner language sit on the same page, bound to the same definition, signed by business and counsel together. Contracts can no longer behave like mirrors held at different angles. Vendors receive an addendum that names a 30-day cure. If a dispute rises, only the disputed lane pauses, with dates both sides can see. The rest of the map stays open, so one leak cannot flood a quarter. Numbers begin to report the change. The validation drift drops from daily nuisance to a weekly blip. Projected exposure halves as reversals stop accumulating. Incident flags arrive less often and later. Freeze risk falls out of the red. Dashboards smooth like water settling after a stone sinks. Mateo keeps his voice where it belongs. If the right person reads the page can work, he says, not loud, and the sentence holds the room steady. Harper adds an open channel for risk signals over a threshold. Any manager can send a 2-line alert that bypasses single-point suppression and lands with compliance and her office. Priya posts the rule where everyone can see it and none can edit it. Ops schedules a 15-minute drill for night shift, walking the checklist until muscle memory replaces guesswork. Training notes go to every depot, laminated cards clipped to forklifts. Compliance posts a number on bay doors for the new channel. Thresholds are printed in bold. Priya adds a weekly 10-minute review to Monday stand-ups, where anyone can present a 2-slide risk without permission. Confirmations land across screens. Signatures return. Slack quiets. The hour turns. 3:10 approaches. Mateo closes one file, checks the elevator, and reaches for his bag. At 3:30, Luna comes through the school doors with paint on her sleeve and the fox plush hanging by one ear. Mateo is there, hand up in a small wave the moment she looks for him. She runs the last few steps and fits under his arm like a practiced answer. Did the sentence help? She asks, breath bright. It did, he says. People listened. She thinks about that while they wait for the crossing light, heel to toe on the curb. Good, she says. The fox nods along in her fist. They walk in matched steps, the packet no longer in his hands, a lighter swing to his bag. Small words can move big machines, he says, if they arrive at the right time and the right desk. Luna tries the sentence silently, then smiles as if it fits. Across town, Virio hums in a different key. Edit queues ask for 2 names before anything moves. Midnight windows have watchers. An open channel carries risk flags past single points. On Harper's desk, beside a dry glass, a small card waits where she will see it first. Access without attention is noise. At the corner, the light changes. Mateo and Luna step off together. The fox bumps his wrist and keeps swinging. Their pace holds, ordinary and exact, until the street forgets the cameras, and the day remembers whose names belong on the work. They turn toward home, hands linked, the building behind them humming softer than before. They do not hurry.